How's it going, everyone? It's Artifact, and today we're going to make this loop right here. Using the sound of bubbles, which is very, very interesting. First off, we're going to start off by going over to freesound.org, and we're going to grab this bubble sample here, which is absolutely wicked, and we're going to resample this texture next using Quanta. But if you don't have it, you can also get away with not using Quanta in this instance. The reason why I wanted to use it was because you can add some kind of nice stereo effects and texture to the sound. So what I've got here is I've just thrown it into Quanta, which is a granular synth. You can use any other granular synth as well. And we just choose a kind of little position during the sample here, and then we just randomize the position. So it just loops this little area. And it just makes the sample a little bit more interesting than using the original sample. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to pitch this recording into 3 different versions. So we've got a bubble high, a bubble low, and a bubble mid, and we're just going to do this by playing 3 different octaves on the keyboard. Very, very simple. So the bubble low, we have this kind of low version, and then we have the mid, and then we have this high version. And now we're going to create a 3-part bass, mid, and lead using the 3 different versions and resampling them all within our beautiful, beautiful Vital. One day we'll have children together, Vital and I. Such a lovely lady. So, Vital low. I'll start off with the low bass, and let's listen to this one. All these presets will also be on my Patreon. The bubble low sample here. Already sounds quite nice on its own, and we're going to add in an oscillator 1. So we simply drag the sample into oscillator 1, and it creates this wavetable, and then we're just going to be modulating this wavetable using an LFO. So we have one LFO which we put onto this wavetable slider here, so it goes through the frames very slowly as if it's playing the sample. Then I've added some frequency modulation and some inharmonic, which is a wavetable effect, which gives it a bit more of a kind of low and warm kind of feeling. And these are going to be modulated with the LFO2 on this kind of curve that we've made here. So there's a short little attack, and then there's like a long kind of release, and it makes a kind of like wow wow kind of sound. Other important things to note, obviously we have our phase randomization off. Secondly, we're going to add in an oscillator 2, which is just a sine wave. And this is going to frequency modulate from oscillator 1. And that means we're going to actually turn down the level of this oscillator 1. So it's going to be like a sort of carrier in the chain, but it's not actually going to, we're not actually going to hear anything from this oscillator. So, you know, without it, we miss that kind of mid-range part to the sound. If I just use this sine wave. But I put it in, and now we've got that kind of natural kind of bubble wavetable, which has been frequency modulated by the sample. And in this oscillator 2 here, with these basic shapes, we've actually turned up the unison to 5, put some spread on, also frequency modulated this from oscillator 1, of course, so we get the sound coming in. And then we've gone over to the advanced tab here, and we've just tweaked a couple of these settings, the table spread and the spectral spread and the distortion spread, just to like play with the particular sound design of that wavetable. After that, we run through a few effects, namely the compressor, which just sounded really, really good on this sound, some distortion, hard clipping, and then we've got this filter, which is a low cut filter, and we've tracked this to our LFO, so without it we just have a lot of noise. So a lot of the actual movement and kind of character on the modulation side from the sound comes from this low cut filter. It's just tracked to the cutoff here, and to the mix as well. A very, very small reverb on the end. And now if we move over to our mid section, we're simply going to copy over the exact same patch, and we're going to make just a couple of changes. So the LFO2, we're going to turn up the speed. So on this one, rather than the slower kind of, that slower filter movement, we've now got this faster filter movement at 1/8. And we've also dragged in our mid bubble sample now. So where we had the low one in the first one, we're going to be throwing in the bubble sample, which has been pitched up 1 octave from the low one, so we can get a bit more of a mid-range sound using it. And all the other settings are the same. We just change the pitch on this sine wave here, so that brings up the octave of that one as well. And just a couple of extra tweaks in the FX section. We add a little bit of chorus because we can start to get a bit wider as we go into the mid-range, and a little bit more distortion, so we can just get a bit of difference in the distortions between the different sounds, so that they each have a slightly different character, each of these 3 sounds we're making. So if we already add these together, you know, we have these 2 LFO movements of these 2 differently pitched samples, but running through pretty much the same kind of vital processing chain. It's already starting to sound pretty nice and kind of rolling, got a nice kind of groove going already. So with the third section, this is the high one, we're going to be basically doing the same as we did. We're going to add in our third sample, which is the pitched up highest version of the bubbles that I made at the beginning. And then on this one again, we're just going to be dragging it into here, and then again we turn up the speed of the LFO, so this is at 16ths now, so it's very, very fast. And on the FX, we've gone a little bit heavier on the chorus, we've added a really small delay, we've changed the mode of the distortion again, so we've got a slightly different character of sound, and at the end we've gone a bit heavier on the reverb because we've got this like higher kind of lead sound now. We can add a bit more reverb to that to give a bit of depth to the overall kind of group that we've created here. And if we just take a little look into the MIDI, on this one I've just used it as these kind of pluck lead sounds. So we have a quick listen. So if we listen to all 3 of them together now. So all kind of made from this bubble sample originally, and then modulated into Vital using the wavetable. So we have the wavetable, the sample section, and then a sine wave to kind of just give a bit of bass underneath everything. And then, yeah, just using the 3 different samples at different pitches to create these 3 different versions. The lower one at a slow LFO rate, the medium one at a slightly faster LFO rate, and the higher one at an even faster LFO rate. And a few little extra bits of chorus and reverb as we go up in pitch with our 3 different sounds, and then playing it all together. We have a really nice, interesting kind of whole bass and lead group that we could use now to write a complete song that sounds pretty good already. And that's just made from, you know, again, just using a sound from Freesound and then just modulating it in. So you could really go crazy and pick your own sounds and, you know, have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, as I said, patches are available on my Patreon. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one production session with me, I do have a couple of slots left throughout the week. You can just send an email down below to info@artifactmusic.com. Peace and have a good day.